So, Ande Smith, thanks for being with us here on the Howie Carr Show.
Well, thanks for having me, Howie. It's always good to be on the radio with another captain.
That's right. I was I didn't I won my stripes from the local winos down here. You know, I told them if they wanted to give me some money, they had to call me captain. So that's how I got my bars. So, Ande, tell us something about yourself. I guess you're introducing yourself to the voters of the first congressional district. I'm going to say the last Republican congressman was David Emory, and that was like back in the 70s, wasn't it?
No, we've done better than that, Howie. We had Jock McKernan for a couple years in the representative seat, and we had James Longley, who came along during the Contract for America years. But it has been a long drought. But I think you are spot on when you started off the segment by saying that she's more vulnerable. I'm not sure I would ascribe it just to her personal circumstances. But as I know you follow the news, and everybody does, Maine is moving away from the Democrats and the progressive agenda, and they're starting to see the logical conclusion of that philosophy, and they're ready for a change. I mean, the fact you've talked for about the past hour about Donald Trump, the fact that many Democrats are embracing Bernie Sanders, everybody's ready for a change. And I think that change is going to move Maine in the direction to send Shelley Pingree home, wherever she chooses to call it in November.
She'll be going back to the Nebo Lodge.
Well, she's got a nice condo apparently up on Munjoy Hill in Portland now, so I hope she enjoys it.
Boy, Munjoy Hill coming back from my youth, I'll tell you that. We didn't have too many millionairesses living there in those days. So Ande, why do you think she's? Well, I guess I should ask you the question: why is Maine doing so well? We talked with Paul LePage earlier today when he endorsed Donald Trump. I mean, Maine is basically now a full employment state. It's pretty amazing, isn't it?
Well, I think the economy has definitely moved in a positive direction. I think the job stats look good in many respects. But you know, Howie, and all of your listeners know, that when you take the fact that over the last few years in Maine and nationally, since Obama came into office, and same time Shelley Pingree came into office with him, we've printed about $4 trillion and injected that into the economy, and at the same time we've borrowed another $6 trillion or so and injected that in the economy. We've held interest rates at near zero at the federal level for probably the last 8 years, and now we've got energy prices that are at the lowest in a generation, and yet we're eking out about 2.5% growth per year. And what does that tell you? It's like our economy should be booming. It should be a rocket ship to the moon. And the policies of the progressives, just like Shelley Pingree, are holding us back. So while we've done better, for sure, and part of that, I think, attributable to Paul LePage, we can do a lot better. And not only can we have full employment, we'll bring people back into the workforce that have already given up and get full labor participation rates again and see real wage growth and real growth in the state of Maine. So I think the future is much more optimistic, and we ought not be snowed by the meager results that we've eked out over the last few years, despite Shelley Pingree, but not because of her.
So you're retired from the Navy. What do you do now, Ande?
Well, I'm actually still a Navy reservist, Howie. I'm closing in on 30 years, but I haven't quite got there. So I continue to serve our nation as a submarine officer. Very proud of the opportunities I've had and then the role that I can in serving. But in my day job, I run a cybersecurity consulting firm that I started up here in Maine. And unfortunately, in that business is good.
You're that's the business that Rudy Giuliani is in now, correct?
I think he does more of the national security space, but there's definitely a piece of it that involves cyber. Because as you know, and I know from following your show, Howie, that the attacks on our nation go on all the time, and I think one of the spots you had recently, just a few minutes ago, talked about the number of people who had exposure from the IRS leaking records and all other government agencies leaking records. The criminals and the non-state actors and the nation states that wish us harm are out there actively probing us, and there's a lot of work to be done.
So you were you were involved in some of the operations against the terrorist forces that bedevil us, that are trying to attack us. How do you think Shelley Pingree is doing on national security issues? Because the polls say that and the economy are the two things that are most on voters' minds.
Well, they're most on my mind. I have 5 kiddos, and I think about them every day when I have to let them walk down the road from the bus stop, and I can't be there to pick them up. I think Shelley Pingree has been abysmal on that, and I think everybody recognizes it, which is part of the reason that she's going to go home this November. I mean, the best example of it is you think about the Syrian refugees or the Iranian deal. You know, she was more than content. I think she voted twice to allow unvetted Syrian refugees to come into this country right from the heart of jihad land, and that's just nonsensical. It bespeaks to her lack of judgment and her fealty to ideology as opposed to good common sense. And then the Iran deal, I do not support that deal. I cannot believe that we have created a pathway for a country to get a nuclear weapon. At the same time, the same country that has largely destabilized the Middle East and destabilized the world as a consequence. We're going to give them hundreds of billions of dollars so that they can perfect their rocket technology, so that when they do get around to building that nuclear weapon, they'll be ready to deliver it and hold us at risk.
Andy, last time around, Republicans in the 1st District, they pretty much gave Shelley Pingree a pass by nominating a young, inexperienced kid, and the debates kind of bore that out. She just walked all over him. Have you thought about a strategy going into these debates on how you're going to pick her apart? Because you're obviously a very well-spoken guy.
Well, I appreciate that, Steve. But, the thing to remember about Isaac Music and in that campaign, and this is another reason that I think Republicans, or not even Republicans, but people who have common sense and care about America can have hope that we're going to send Shelley Pingree home in this election, is in that race with that young man who, give him props for having heart and going into it. But he, and then it was a libertarian gentleman that also got into that race. Between the two of them, they got 40% of the vote. She took 60, so sure, but in a campaign that really didn't pose any challenge to her, the people in the 1st congressional district, 40% of them went against her. So when you think about all the places that the Republicans have been running the table in southern Maine, Matt Harrington down in Sanford, and our special election victories in Biddeford, and Bruce Pollock even at Baldwin up in the 2nd District, and the fact that LePage was elected with the most popular votes in history of the state of Maine, she is primed to go down because she's already seen the handwriting on the wall with how people in Maine have voted.
What's the story with you mentioned libertarian, and that brought back a lot of bad memories of here in Massachusetts on the North Shore. We had a race here a few years ago, a terribly corrupt Democrat, John Tierney, you remember, VB. And he was defeated, basically, except that there was a libertarian in the race, and the libertarian just pulled out enough votes to reelect the Democrat one last time. Are you going to? I hope you're. I don't know if you can have direct contact, but I hope you're sending out hints that maybe there should only be one candidate against this incumbent.
Well, I don't know of anybody, Howie, and I'm not sure I'd even feel the need to do that, because I'll tell you the truth. I believe that any incumbent can be beaten in the right time by the right person with the right message. And I believe, for the reasons we talked about, that this is the right time that Shelley Pingree can be defeated. I believe the 30 years of military experience that I bring to bear, 20 years as a businessman, running companies, creating jobs, and then my history of service to the state and the State Board of Education and the Maine Charter School Commission, making school choice real. All those things make me the right person to take the battle to her. And we're going to have the right message to knock her down for all the things we're talking about: national security, the economy, deregulation, and basically restoring the Constitution, if that should be first on the list. So I think it is the right time for the right person with the right message, and I think that's me. And if somebody else wants to come out and play in that space, they can have at it. But I think the people of the state of Maine are going to know what the right choice is.
I know you kind of have to, say nice things about him because he's in control of major purse strings for all Republican campaigns. But how do you think Paul Ryan's doing?
I haven't followed it that closely since the omnibus budget reconciliation bill, which was a bitter pill for, I think, all Republicans to swallow. I think Paul Ryan's got a very difficult job on his hands. There's a great diversity of the people in Congress. And what I really want to do is to go to Congress and provide my voice and my leadership to guide us back to a path of a strong constitutional orientation to Congress by taking a power back away from the executive branch so that we don't have pens and phones putting us on the defensive by not allowing the executive branch to overreach. I think that'll go a long way, and what I hope to bring to Congress, go a long way to restoring the balance of power and giving Congress the driver's seat role in making law in this country as opposed to reacting to law being made in the executive branch.
What's the worst vote Shelley Pingree has made in your opinion? What vote would you make into a TV spot right today?
It's a laundry list. It's almost you got to be careful what you wish for because there's so many good choices from that standpoint. But from a commercial standpoint, the one that comes to mind for me, Howie, is she voted against the bill, and you'll forgive me, I don't know the exact name of the bill that it was. But it was basically a bill that if there was an abortion conducted and it failed and they delivered that child live, that it would require that doctors render aid to protect the life that had been brought into the world. And she voted against that. And that's reprehensible, I think, to support infanticide, to kill a newborn life that is in the world. I can't imagine how she sleeps at night supporting that kind of ideology.
So it's basically partial birth abortion.
It would be a failed partial birth abortion or some kind of failed abortion where the baby was delivered live.
It would be a birth.
It would have been a birth. And the law that she voted against would have protected that life in the same way that any baby coming into life and rendered a duty on that doctor to protect it and harbor it and bring it forward in the world as you'd expect. And it's inhumane and it's reprehensible.
Andy, are you from Maine originally?
I was born up in Pittsfield, Maine, which is a little further north than you were kicking around, and I mainly grew up in the Brunswick and Topsom areas. Okay,
so you're a native. That's sometimes the Democrats don't have natives from Maine running, as you very well know.
I'm not sure where they import them from all the time, but I guess they pay them enough to come, right?
Moonbat land is where they come from. So if
right.
people want to check out your campaign, Andy, where do they go on the internet?
Right, on the World Wide Web, you would go to andeformaine.com, and that's my first name spelled uniquely. It's ANDE, kind of like the after dinner meant. FOR, the word for, and then Maine, the state. So andeformaine.com. We've got a Facebook page, Twitter feed, and just about all the other social media accoutrements. But the website's the best place to go. You can learn a lot more about me and my life story and the positions I'm taking on the most important issues.
And given your business right now, they will be secure when they go to your website. Don't have to worry.
That's right.
Don't have to worry about any viruses.
I had my team go out and test that, Howie. So we're feeling pretty good about it. But you never know. There's a lot of crafty, bad people out there.
Hey, Andy, given that you're a cybersecurity expert, what do you think the chances are that Iran and China and Russia have Hillary Clinton's emails?
I would say that if they were doing their homework, which given the kinds of people they employ, I'd say it's a pretty high probability that they had access to that server.
Should Apple break into that iPhone for the FBI?
That issue, I think it's very important. I think that they're not being asked to break encryption, and I think there's a process in law for the one-off cases. I mean, we've got that precedent nailed down. I'm very much pro-security. I think people give up way too much of their privacy to the government, and I don't generally think that the government should have a back door from an encryption standpoint, But that particular Apple case is really about turning off the self-destruct or the self-wiping mechanism. It wasn't a personal phone. It was a work phone.
Yep.
They absolutely should help the FBI get into that phone under a court order in this case.
And they've done it before, correct? I mean, I've read that repeatedly, that Apple is just drawing a line in the sand here because it's a high-profile case.
Yeah, I'm not sure about that, Howie. I haven't researched it fully, but what I do know is here you've got a case where there is a court order. It's a one-off. They've been given every ability not to make it, to sacrifice the privacy of Americans to the government. I fully support that idea, but there's just no doubt they should help the FBI get into that one phone, just like the phone company has to help with a wiretap when there's a warrant.
Ande Smith, thanks for being with us, and good luck in your campaign against Shelley Pingree, the newly single, newly not-so-affluent congresswoman from the 1st Congressional District. We'll be talking to you as the campaign unfolds. Thank you,
Absolutely.
Ande Smith.
Great to be with you, Howie, and I hope you have a great weekend.
Thank you. Same to you.